Excuse me?
Sit without seat. Right going there.
I'm charging my phone.
You have to be next to the phone when you charge.
Thank you. You make a good point.
A nice shiur this morning. Very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Even though we're usually ahead of Parsha, last week I wasn't here. So I want to do a Yishmaka Sicha, classic Rashi Sicha, on this week's Parsha, which was the discussion that Avraham Avinu had with the Eibishter about the destruction of the 5 cities of Sodom and Amorah. So I said it's a classical Rashi Sicha. The Rebbe takes a little Rashi, takes it apart, asks a dozen questions.
It's not the Shiur 50.
Yeah. That's Sicha. Yeah. It's in the Sicha itself is 8 questions, but in the Oris and everything is really it's about 12 questions. And then there's a simple answer, and with Heiron Avodas Hashem, it's a beautiful classic Rashi Sicha. I'm checking back.
Amen.
Hashem Omer Machar Shanim Avram Hashem Yosef Avram Hoya Yia Lagoy Gadol Vatzim Velit V'Choboy Kol Goy Oretz. Ki Yidayt Avram Sheitzav Es Bonam Ves Beis Achar B'Shamar Derech Shem Lasset Tzedok Mishpat L'man Hovei Shem Al Avram Es Asher Diber Olav. Maybe she said, I love Avram Avinu, and I'm now going to destroy 5 cities. I should tell him something about it. V'em Hashem Zdak Es Doim V'Amorah Kirobah V'Chatosim Kechav Demoid Erdena V'Erach Ketzakos Abo Alay Osu Kolav Im Loiv Eitav. Rebbe said, I'm going to go down, I'm going to look, and decide what to do. Avram said to the Eibishter, Aftis Petzadikim Rasha, Ula Yeshcha Mishim Tzadikim B'Terchir, Aftis Pavalotis Alamakal Manchadishim Tzadikim Asher Bekirba, Chalila Lecha Masais Kadavar Zelahom Tzadikim Rasha, Vahoyach Tzadik Rasha, Chalila Lech Hashefet Kol Haaretz Lo Yasem Mishpat. How could it be for you that eventually you do such a thing?
It's not a chutzpah to tell Hashem Chalila Lecha. Why are you doing it?
No, it's a chutzpah, right? If I find 50 tzaddikim, find 50 tzaddikim, they're all spared. I am dust and earth. Because it's lacking 5 tzaddikim, you're going to kill everyone. David said, if I find 45 tzaddikim, I'm good. Avram Avinu keeps on negotiating. Let's read this Rashi. Rashi says, where do we see Agosh al Malchama? Vayigash Yoyav. V'goim. Agosh al Pius. Vayigash el Yehuda. Agosh al Tvila. Vayigash el Yo Anovi. Nichnas Avram ladaber koshes al Pius al Tvila. Very simple Rashi. Very, very easy Rashi when you read it. No necessary to look at any commentary. It reads very easy. That's until you learn a Sicha. So first just the shot. What's the story of Yoav? We see Vayigash Yoav, and why Vayigash Yoav? It says V'goimer, and Vayigash El of Yehuda doesn't say V'goimer, and Vayigash El Yoanav doesn't say V'goimer. So the Rebbe says because you really have to read the whole pasuk there. And over there, it's not such a tushtel. What happened was that there were 2 fronts. There was the front from the north and a front from the south against the Jews. It was the Hezbollah and the Hamas. There was the Ammon and Aram, and the army was stretched thin. So they split the army in half. And Yoav said, "Listen, we'll fight. Laman Ameinu v'ore lekenu v'Hashem atov yaseh be'enu. V'Hashem yaseh atov be'enu." But we're going to fight with bravery. And they immediately attacked Aram. And because they attacked them, the Aram got scared and they ran away. So as soon as Aram ran away, they went to the other half of the army and helped them out. And and they attacked Ammon. And then they went back and attacked both of them again. They didn't listen to Anthony Blinken. No, there was no ceasefire, nothing. After they won the war, they went back to Yerushalayim, got more ammunition, and attacked them again. No humanitarian aid, nothing.
No ceasefire.
No ceasefire at all. But you know what? What?
Avram was negotiating. Maybe he had Nevi'us. I knew he was going to have to negotiate about in Kiryas Arba, which we learned in
I don't know. One second. Let's finish this one. Let's. This is too good of a story to miss for right now. This is way too good of a story. You have to hear the end of the story. You hear the end of the story? The end of the story. So they attack and they attack a second time. So you're happy. You attacked. You were attacked from both armies, and now they win. So you win. You're supposed to go back and celebrate, and now you make a peace treaty. But that's not what they do. They win. It says they split the army in half. ועד עמנו ועד אור אלוקינו, והשם יעש עתו בעיניו. ויגש יואב העם השעים אל המלחמה, וארם וינוסו בפניו. They went chutzpahdik, and then Aram ran away. So as soon as they saw that they were successful there, בני העם ראו כי נוס ארם וינוסו מפני אבישי, ויובו יאיר ויושב יואב מעל בני העם ויובו ירושלים. And then the Jews saw they're doing good, so they went to attack them a second time. Vayonas Aram ibnei Yisrael, Vayarik David Maram Sheva Meis Rechav Arboim Elef Paroshim, Veshoivach Sar Tzvo Hike Vayom Hasham, Vayiru Kol HaMelachim, Avdei Hadar Ezer Ki Nikfu Lifnei Yisrael, Vayashlimu Es Yisrael, Vayavdum, Vayiru Aram Lo Yishia Oides Bnei Amoy. You hear the strategy? Bencher, we'll get to your question in a minute. We got to do strategy here. Israel is now in Gaza.
This is Yoav, Yigash Yoav.
The first one, Yigash Yoav, and then David got involved. But you see how you win? Vayashlimu es Yisrael, when they saw they Jews attacked them, and after they won,
they made a peace with Israel.
They attacked them again. When the Eden won, Vayashlimu, now there was Shalom. Now there's attack. They say you need to make there needs to be a political solution for the conflict. There is a political solution. After you win the war, you hit him a second time. After you win the second time, there's always a good political solution. The political solution is Vashlimu es Yisrael Vayavdu, and then Vayiru Aram Lo Yishia Oid as Bnei Ammon. That's the political solution.
This was Aram, but with the Hamas, you win 10 times. Peace is not good there.
No. What you got to do is you got to hit them hard. You got to hit them again. Then you have to come back in and rebuild Gush Katif, triple the size.
That's
triple the size. And the next missile that falls, every missile that falls out of Gaza, there'll be another city built in Gaza.
Anymore.
Huh?
It's not going to be Gaza anymore. It's going to be Israel.
It'll be Israel. So every missile that falls,
it's not going to be anymore.
So what is the second time exactly? Who did they kill? Everybody? Second time?
Yeah, whoever was moving. It sounds like it was a lot.
Who wasn't killed the second time?
I don't know. Whoever they could kill, they killed.
Well, I don't. Well, I
Gotta
want to
kill.
know. Well, that's very vague.
No
But
choice.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just asking. It's very vague. So,
The pasuk doesn't say.
do they kill all the men? They kill all the men. women, and
They
children?
sounded
Do
like they'll kill
everybody
whoever was
who
moving. Whoever was moving.
What
Whoever.
does that mean? Whoever was moving. Moving as in
It was-
how many feet per minute? What does moving mean?
The
Everybody.
pasuk doesn't
different-
tell us.
It's make different
The
finishes.
pasuk
What's
says.
different?
No, God, that's what I want to know.
We don't know.
Did they kill every single person like they should have done to a Malik?
No.
You know who was right? Kahana was 100% right. Kahana was 100% right. Talking that 30 years ago.
Stop killing all the moving people.
Oh.
You know, now you see what
Okay.
Kahana said. He's
We don't have
100% right.
competition.
Now let's learn the Gurarya and the Mizrach.
He was with Kahana.
Gurarya Rad, Matzinu Hagosha, the Karnam Iksiv Milchama. Af Tispe, Tzadikim Rosha. And that was the Milchama. The Milchama, as he says, As Tispe, he's arguing with the Eibishter. Pius Vanoichi Ofer Ve'efer, Tfila Al No Yichar, Zo Tfila. The Kemash Mal No Yichar Abcha, the Kol Shlosh Naminyan Echod, that all three came together. It wasn't three separate psukim. Shegimu kavonas ha'ila b'dvarim elu. He had three kavonas. Kedvarim ha'shediber Avram ha'iktzas koshim. V'heim im ze piyus shoyim mefayis oisei shamar. Ula yesh chamisim tzadikim. V'zeh piyus l'kodesh baruch hu sheyasha b'shvil tzadikim. V'gam ha'yim makavim b'tfila mispal sheyasha zakadosh baruch hu derech tfila. V'zeh borur, that he did all three at the same time. V'dakir azal b'medesh hazeh ramzu davar nel ma'od ki kivin da Avram Neged Sholish famous of the Eibishter. He mentioned Keil, Lakim, and Yud Kei Vavke. Ki neged Shem Lakim, Shamida Sadin, Diber Koshes, Melchama. Vish neged Shem Keil, which is Midas Achese, Diber Pius. The neged Ash Yud Kei Vavke, Dam Yuchan Delov, Atfila Varachimim. So that's why did he have to do all three? Because there's three names of the Eibishter, Keil, Lakim, and Yud Kei Vavke, which is Chesed, Gevura, Tiferes. So in order to stand up to Midas Elikim, which is Midas Adim, was Mulchama. And to stand up for Kael is through Divrei Pius. And to stand up for Yud Kei Vavke is through Tefillah and Achim. Who neged agodl agibur va'anoida, ki Mulchama neged agibur, v'neged agodl u'madav Pius, v'sad gelosi yishadav Pius, v'sad gelosi yisach chesed, v'neged noida yishadaspal, derech Tefillah b'haven zeh. Beautiful. The Rebbe likes this pshat, just that in pshat, the Rebbe doesn't like it at all. He doesn't think it fits in Pshat. I emphasize the psukim where the Rebbe says, Rashi says that the order was that first was Ladab Koshes, then Lapius, and then Latfila. The Rebbe thinks that the three psukim. No, the Rashi says that first was Kosher, then Pius, and then Tfila. So L'choyre, you could ask why would Avram did Moshe Kapoyer? Wouldn't you want to talk nicely to Hashem first? And we'll deal with that later. Pshat that Rashi doesn't have to answer that why Moshe did, why he did it that way. But how did he see it in the pasuk? That's why I emphasize that Rebbe thinks that the first it says Vayigash Avram Vayomer Ha'af Tispe Tzadik Im Rosha. That is chutzpahdik, and that is the dibur kosher, and that's why he brings a pasuk from Yoyov, because Gosh over there was l'malchama, and therefore he says v'gomer. It's not mamish. He wasn't chas v'shalom planning to have malchama with the Eibishter. But it was with chutzpah, just like Yoav went in, jumped into the war with chutzpah. The next pasuk is Chalila lecha ma'asais kadavar hazeh lahamid tzadikim rosha v'hoya ketzadik rosha chalilach hashevik alaretz yas. Rashi says that he said it's chulinhu, so he's really talking sweet to the Eibishter. He's chas v'sham to say these words, kilo comforting the Eibishter. And the third pasuk is Vayan Avram Vayomer Hineno ho'alti l'daber l'adonai v'noich ofer v'efer. That's ho'alti is a loshen tefillah. So because the Rebbe says it in Pshat, these are the three psukim. So first he spoke kosher, then he spoke pius, and then he spoke tefillah. That's why Rashi says l'chol eidla nichnas Avram l'daber koshes, because the first thing he did was kosher, the second thing he did was pius, and the third thing he does is tefillah. That's why the Rebbe disagrees with the Gura.
Yeah, when Esav was the same thing, when Yaakov sent the Malachim.
It also says three. We'll get there in a second.
Right.
He did three things. The Mizrahi says l'chol eidla nichnas Avram. A very good comment. We'll talk about this in a second. L'daber kosher pius or tefillah. He says, "Bebereshis Rabbe Kerebelaz Adam and Imol Machama Nibo Im Lepias Anibo Im Letfila Nibo." Cautious aftis petzadik imrasha. That was kosher. Shayamid b'malchamas adin imoy. Pius hatashches b'chamisha, which is much later. Pirush mishor tesla chalira to start of atemam v'zeh lefnim mishor sadin. Tefillah yimtza shamem v'notzla dal shloshim. Okay. Anyway, the Rebbe thinks that in Pshat, the three psukim that he thinks is much more tzugi past than Pshat. The Sifsei Chachamim writes, "V'yigish Elihu, the Rabbi Maksha Arayazu, the Harav Gufei Pirish Lakamon Shediber Elav Koshes, uBe'em Shetov Soiferhu." It's a mistake in Rashi. V'tzorich li is Vayigishu B'nei Yehuda V'u Posuk B'Yoshea, which is he says every child knows in the Posuk Vayigish Elav Yehuda that it says that Yehuda went Ladabarim cautious. So all of a sudden here Rashi says that what is the pshat? Vayigash Elav Yehuda Lapius. That's not true. So therefore he says no, it's a mistake in Rashi. There's a pasuk in Yeshua which is Vayikshu b'nei Yehuda, and they spoke to him nicely, and that's the pasuk that's supposed to be in Rashi. The Rebbe says for many reasons that pshat is wrong, mainly because in all the Kisvei Yad we have from Rashi it says Vayigash Elav Yehuda. So it's hard to change every Ksav Yad, and the first Tfus and the second and the third Tfus of Rashi all have this. Just because you have a kasha, to go change all the Kisvei Yad is very shvet. Okay. The Rebbe added to this another like half a dozen kashas. The Rebbe says, first of all, the word Vayigash is all over Tanakh. Rashi never touches the word Vayigash. What is bothering him? Why does the Rashi add also the word Avram? And what's the pshat? Rashi, Ulachol Eila Nichnas Avram. What was Rashi emphasizing? And if Rashi wants, Rashi could bring the psukim. Why is he bringing psukim from Yoya, from here? By Yaakovina, we find that he said the Hiskanatzim l'shloisha dvarim, the Toirim, the Tefillah, the Melchama, and he brings the Doira because it says Vatavra min Salponav, the Tefillah, Diksi v'Lakei Avi Avram, the Melchama v'Hoya Amachan Ishleplaita. So Rashi, by Yaakov, yeah, Taka to say this opposite, but the word is he says three things, and he brings the psukim, and I'll just say that psukim,
and he doesn't say that.
Here he could have done the same thing. He could have said, "Hinigash kila lekosha diksiv aftis petzadik imrasha, v'nigash lepiz diksiv chalil lachmasais kadavar hazeh, v'nigash letfila diksiv v'yalti," just like he did by Yaakov Avinu. Here, Rashi starts over the whole thing, saying. It brings a pasuk from Yoav and a pasuk from Yehuda and a pasuk from Eliyahu Navi. Like, what's going on over here? What's and also the Shaila from the Sifsei Chachamim. Okay, this is another many questions that Rebbe asks. Here's the beauty of the Rebbe is always mahalach pshutei shel mikra, which a lot of times in my forshim is very mafulful, but the Rebbe doesn't think that this is pshat for a 5-year-old. The Rebbe says a 5-year-old reads carefully if he's he reads the pasuk. It says that the Eibush is talking to Avram. Hashem Amar Machasanim Avram Sheyosef. The Eibush talks to him. The Eibush is talking to him. V'Avram oidenu oimed lifnei Hashem. The pasuk emphasizes Avram is still standing right in front of the Eibush. Next pasuk, Vayigash Avram Vayomer. Shouts, Rabbi, If the pasuk says, emphasizes Avram oidenu oimed lifnei Hashem. Avram is standing in front of the Eibishter. How could it be Vayigash Elav? How could it be Vayigash Avram, that Avram is going closer? The pasuk just said, Oidenu oimed lifnei Hashem. He's standing right over here. So what does it mean Vayigash? It just says, Oidenu oimed lifnei Hashem. That's what's bothering Rashi. So Rashi says, you should know the answer is that Vayigash, we find 3 pshatim in the Torah what Vayigash is. Because it's a Yetura Dekra, and it doesn't even make sense. So Rashi says, I'll tell you what happened over here. Vayigash doesn't mean physical. It doesn't even mean spiritually. Sometimes say like Tefillah, I'm preparing myself. Vayigash means something else. Avram went into a different mode. Avram was standing and listening to the Eibishter. Avram was very obedient to the Eibishter. When Eibishter spoke to Avram, he always listened. He was a noichi offer v'efer. He always listened to the Eibishter. All of a sudden, when the Eibishter told him that he's planning to kill these people and turn over the 5 cities, Vayigash Avram, before Vayoyma, All of a sudden, Avram
woke up.
like a lion.
Like Vayigash with Yehuda was also with aggression.
So the truth is, that's what the Rebbe answers. Vayigash Elav Yehuda was physical because he was standing with his brother and he wanted to say Yikonsu Dvore Be'oznecha.
Harsh words.
So Vayigash. The Rebbe says, if you look in the Rashi there, the Meforshim are asking a question not in place.
Yeah.
Vayigash Elav Yehuda, Rashi doesn't say Ladaber Lev Koshevs. Probably he went over to be Mephayasin. Later in the pasuk where it says Al Yifar Yichar Apcha Bavdecho, so Rashi says Malamet Shediber Elav Koshevs. But when he walked over originally to him, he didn't. Who says that? He said, Bi Adoni, Bi Adoni, Bi Adoni, please, my master. That doesn't sound like chutzpah.
I thought the pshat was out loud. He was giving respect, but in his ear he was threatening him.
You could say that, but that's not what. In the Rashi, it seems like Vayigash Elav, he walked physically. Vayomer, Bi Adoni, please be nice to me. Then he starts getting a little cooked up. He starts cooking. His blood starts cooking. He sees that
even then Vayigash was not aggressive.
right.
Yet.
So with the Meforshim all asking that Vayigash Elav Yehuda means aggressive. It's not true. Vayigash Elav Yehuda means physically. He took his feet and he walked from here to there.
What's the shirish?
Vayigash means agosha, to get close physically.
So why is it such
Give
a
him
hard?
a
You said it's a hard word to.
No, it's here because in this pasuk it doesn't belong.
Ah.
He's standing in front of the Eibishter and it says Vayigash. So Rashi saying, what does it mean? So it must be that here Vayigash means something else. It means that Avram Avinu, before he even spoke one word in his mind, he made a decision to do Hagosha. So Rashi says, I'm going to collect in the whole Tanakh. I find that there's three meanings to the word Vayigash.
Right.
One is combative, like Yoav, which he saw that that it's getting tough. There's two fronts. And he said, we're going to sit, we're going to call the White House, we're going to talk to France and the UN. It's not going to be good. Vayigash was chutzpah. He went straight kosher. He went straight into the war. So Vayigash could mean to go kosher. Vayigash could mean to just like by Yehuda, even though it means physically, but it also he went over to appease him before he started. His blood started cooking, and he started to Vayal Yicher Apcha. He was lefaisoi to be nice to him, to try to get him to send Binyamin free. And then the third is we find Hagosha by Liyo Navi that he was mispal to the Eibush. That is the whol story about Harakanimel, and then it says Vayigash Eliyo Navi, and he spoke to the Eibush and he davened. So because the pasuk says here Vayigash, and it doesn't make sense physically, Vayigash Avram means Avram before he even said one word. Before he said, that's why he doesn't bring the three psukim. The Poel Taka Avram did these three things, and he did it in this order. First, he was combative, then he was Lephaius, and then he was. But the word Vayigash Avram, Rashi emphasized these two words, means in his mind, it was like a mental switch. Instead of being obedient to the Eibush, all of a sudden it was like a switch in his mind. Vayigash Avram, and I read it in the words in Rashi. Matzinu Hagosh Malchama, Vayigash Yoyev. Vagosh Lapiyas, Vayigash Elav Yehuda, Vagosh Latfila, Vayigash Eliyahu Navi. So Rashi says, Olachol Eile, Nichnas Avram. Avram, it doesn't mean physically, it doesn't mean even spiritually. It means that Avram, in his mind, Nichnas Avram, he went in to this mode, Ledaber, he decided in his mind that he's going to speak Kasha, it's worth to talk Kasha, Lapius, or Latfila. Why he picked these three? And why in this order? Because Lapoil, we see that that's the order and what he did it in the psukim later.
Can you say that he was gonna have it out with Hashem because he's thinking on Hashem, like he knows that's what Hashem wants him to do, like he's imitating Hashem.
It's a good question. I want to get there in a second. Maybe it's some pshat. So yeah.
We do the sin ourselves with brothers. He used the lesson B'Sham Ali.
Yeah.
It was more like conciliatory.
Okay.
He wasn't being combative with that.
Okay. So the Rashi says that Vayigash means three things. Pshat. Sometimes in the psukim Vayigash means kosher. Sometimes it means lapius. Sometimes it means latfila. Oh, so now tak is the question. Where does Avram take? This is the pshat. This is the pshat. Okay, we understand the pshat.
Who are you to be an
Not as I.
Isha
Isha Chesed, nice guy. What happened? Yeah, where is it?
Who are you to be an
Right. So the question is, where did Avram take this? The Rebbe says there's a story in the Zohar. The Zohar, there's the story in the Zohar in this week's Parsha. The Zohar says like this. It says the Zohar on this pasuk. Zim nechavda nafik Reb Shimon. V'chamal ha'alma l'choshech v'afil. He saw that there was either physically, either there was an eclipse, or spiritually, he saw a darkness in the world. He told his son there's trouble going on. But he said to Rebbe Elazar, my boy let's see what's going on. The dome of the Tuda, he huge, was like a malach as big as a mountain. The Tuda Ravrava Vafik, Tolosin Shalhuvim in Hudim Epumet. 30 columns of fire was coming out from his mouth. What are you doing? I came to destroy the world. Begin the losh klossen sakoi bedore. There isn't at least 30 good people in the world. It says, Hoya Yiya. Yiya is Yud is 20 and Hey is 10, so it's 30. So if there's no 30 good men in the world, it's time to destroy the world.
When was this?
This is in the days of Hashem Yechai. That's what the Zohar says.
When they come out
Is this where they get the idea of dragons from?
Everything
from the Torah, no?
Everything comes. Reb Shimon.
Sounds like a dragon.
Right, it sounds like a wild dragon. Reb Shimon zil bar be'are, and go to the Eibush and tell him that there's bar Yechoy.
Or he can go by himself to send his son.
No, he told the angel to go. He told the angel.
Then was busy working, so they will go busy.
Go back to where you came from and say, no, it's not happening.
I am here.
Ozlahu malach kamei kutshabrichu. V'amar lei mora da alma goli kol moch ma da omer li bar Yechai. He went to the Eibush and says, you know what bar Yechai said to me. Okay? Amar le kutshabrichu zil achirvei la alma v'lo tishkach bebar Yechai.
Wow.
The Eibush said, just destroy the world. Don't listen to bar Yechai. Kados echazi Reb Shimon la malacha.
He's an intermediary in this argument.
So again, the Shimon sees him. Amar lo Eloi tezel. If you're not going to go back to the Eibush there, grazinin Allah the loteya l'shemaya. I'm going to make a gzei that you can never go back to heaven. Loteya ba'asir oza va'azor. You'll be stuck with those nasty guys oza va'azor for the rest of your life, for eternity. Kateo kameku chabrichu. When you go back to the Eibush, the aim I tell him like this: Ilais tlosin zakoyim mi alma. If there isn't 30, I have esrim. The Hoksiv lo yaser babura esrim. The Avram Avinu said, if there isn't 30, you can do it for 20. Even though Rashi says that. But anyway, but the Zohar says, Kilu, 20 would do it. Vileis esrim, havala asora, the Ksiv lo yashkel babura asora. Vileis asora, lehevi terrain. If there isn't 10, there's 2. Who 2? Ano obri, me and my son. The Ksiv, Trey, ani obri. L'ksiv al pishnayim edim yokim dove vein dove elo oilam l'ksiv v'dvar Hashem shmeim naso sheles terein ischad v'ano l'ksiv v'tzadik yesoid oilam.
It's what?
If you don't want to count my son, he's not good enough. Count me. Tzadik yesoid oilam. Kat shomei kol min shmaya nofek v'omer zakor chulkich Reb Shimon the kutshabrichu goz ala'ela v'at mevatel atata. There was a baskel that came that said that Reb Shimon is Zoyche, that the Eibishter is Goizer and he's Mavatel Eibishter Zera. Avada Yaloch Itmar Retzon Yerei of Yasa, that by you, it's clear that for you, the Posek, is Retzon Yerei of Yasa.
We need them now.
What is that? The Rebbe says,
if I ask the same question I asked last week about the Alter Rebbe story, is you're supposed to believe this really happened? With Chayei, you believe it really happened?
Yeah.
Because last week you were laughing at me when I said you're supposed to believe. You said you're supposed to not believe, but you're also supposed to believe.
I didn't say
about the story with the. What was the story last week with the Alter Rebbe?
With
something happened
with the money.
Yeah,
pouch of money.
Yeah.
No,
I said
it depends if it's a good source. But everything Listen, all the Torahs, the stories that are in the Torah, we have to believe that they happen kipshutai, and that there is also a deeper pshat is another thing. But we believe that every story that the Torah tells us happened kipshutai. That's the defining factor of There was a time in history that Rebbe talks about. There's a Truman Darajba. They tried to rationalize Torah, and in the golden history of Spanish Jewry, and many of them were like very clever, and they tried to be slightly apologetic towards scientific understanding, and some of those heavy stories in the Torah, they wanted to turn it into an allegory, and the Rashba says that you can't, it's against the Torah. The Rebbe has a whole Torah about it, saying that the whole thing that there is in that we read in Chassidus or in Kabbalah, a deeper meaning to the story is that we believe that Avram was Avram, and he wore sandals, and there was real dust under his feet, between his feet and the sandals. He had real flip-flops, and there was real grains of sand there. And when he told them Alochim wash, he gave them a bucket of water with real water, and they washed the sand off their feet, kipshutai. Elamai, because the Torah bothers to tell it to us, so there is a oime gadol to it. So we believe that the story is true. Elamai, what's the pshat in the story? So the Rebbe says that the pshat is to teach us a lesson. That how could Avram, the first thing he's going to the Eibush is dabe kosher. But the answer is that Avram Avinu didn't make any of his bonus. It's not the pshat. Here's the word. The Rebbe says not the pshat. Avram was a jolly fellow. He was a very kind guy. But there's a mind in Chassidus that says Avram was not the most jolly guy, because we find that Avram, when the guest didn't want to bake a bracha, he got very rough with them. So he wasn't. He was. His midas chesed was an avodas Hashem, because that's going to spread the Eibush in the world. So that's why he was. It wasn't stam a jolly old fellow. So same thing here. When he saw that it's an imminent danger, so he sprung into action, because he thought that ladaber kosher is the most effective way to now save these people. So therefore it was ladaber kosher.
He's like fighting Hashem for Hashem's sake,
right?
For Hashem's desire.
Right.
The Rashbi.
1 second. And the Rashbi proves that it was right, that the Eibishter, there was a baskel that said, now the truth is that in the story of Avram Avinu, they weren't Jews. The Rebbe says before Matan Torah, all humanity was, there's a whole shiloh even about the Ovis, did they have the status of a Yid or not? Because the Jews went through a process of Geidas by Matan Torah. So what exactly was the status of Avram Yitzchak V'Yaakov? It's a whole, bottom line is after Matan Torah, when the Eibishter picks the Jewish people, so there's a special, unique status for Jews, and therefore that Mesidus Nefesh is required dafka for another Yid. But the lesson that we learn from Avram is the same like Shem Mechai, that we have to spring into action. A person's going to say, I'm going to spring into action. But the lesson that we learn from Avram is more. Before he even said one word, Rashi is medayik, l'chol eila nichnas Avram. He put his soul into it. Before he said one word, he was nichnas. It was a mental state. He decided in Vayigash Avram, Rashi says means that in his mind, he made a mental decision that he's going to daber kosher, he's going to be rough with the Eibishter, then he's going to be trying to be mefayis the Eibishter, and then he's going to try to do tefillah with the Eibishter. Now, this reminds me very much of a letter I have to find before the Shiur. There's a letter that was published that Rebbe wrote to Eli Wiesel. This is a long, long letter, and it's a beautiful, beautiful letter. We know that the Rebbe was very mekad of him. He was never neshama. He didn't want to get married, and he didn't want to have children. And the Rebbe convinced him to get married and have children. And Baruch Hashem, he has Einikla. So in the first letter that the Rebbe wrote to him, the Rebbe, he said to the Rebbe, he wrote to the Rebbe about his books. And the Rebbe said, I read your books and I like them. However, here is my thing to you. The Rebbe said, I don't understand. The Rebbe said, if you don't believe in Rabban Shalom, who you have tainus against? There's no one to have tainus against. Talk to the wall. The Rebbe said that the first person who believed in the Eibush is Avram Avinu. We find that he always has tainus with the Eibush. Comes to his dime, he does like 10 psukim. He's arguing. Why are you arguing? The Rebbe said, because if you believe in the Rabban Shalom, you could argue. You could have tainus. But someone who is not a maiman, How could you have tinus? Whatever,
Nature.
that's nature. That's the way it works. So what's your tinus? So even though it sounds like such a simplistic argument, but like it's like a lot of the Rebbe's arguments, remember she turns it on its head. Rebbe said that basically if a person's
Most
a
people that are
non-believer,
atheists have a problem with
right,
something.
they have a problem. But the Rebbe said if you're an atheist, you should have no problem, have no tinus. What's your tinus? Who are you having tinus against? Only a person like Avraham Avinu who is a deep Maimon, he has tinus because he believes that Rebbeinu Shalom really runs the show, so he has tinus. So, but here the lesson is that in order to save another Yid, you have to have tinus. It brings me, I remember, and probably a lot of people remember, if you could look it up, you could see the audio and the video, in the last few years, when there was tragedies in Klal Yisrael, the Rebbe spoke about it in a very open way. There was a woman that was killed by Schwarze in Crown Heights. And the Rebbe was in very big pain. And you could see that the Rebbe was like, the Rebbe was having times that Rebbe Shalom. Shlachayda is like, how do it's a chutzpah. How does a person have times that Rebbe Shalom? But we see that starting with Avraham Avinu, and the Zohar says, obviously it's a dangerous thing, or not. But I think the defining thing here really is that a lot of people they're soft in the Rebbeinu Shalom when it's someone else. They're hard in the Rebbeinu Shalom when it's on themselves. With tzaddikim, we see it's the other way around. When it was for themselves, they had no time to the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is not from the Sikh. I'm just saying kadav pashut. But when it was with another Yid, I mean, this woman that was killed, Kiddush Hashem, they lived in Crown Heights, so we're not mishpacha. We're not. But what's the difference? The Rebbe was a Yid and a mother for children. You have to watch the video. It's unbelievable. And the Rebbe has time. It's the Rebbe Shalom. The Rebbe says what's going to be with the Yisayim, and they're forever going
to the Yisayim, like you always stand next to that.
That was other Yisayim. No, not this. This is the Lapine. No, that's the Lapine. No, it was the other kids. The kids that stood next to the Rebbe was Sharp.
Sharp, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm saying you see that a person that we see that big tzaddikim had that attitude that they should have tinus to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So the Rebbe says that's our lesson. We see that there's another Yid that we have to help another Yid. Doesn't matter what it is, even if it's against our nature. Aladaba cautious that we have to do what it takes to help another Yid. So they shall help him. That the Yid in Eretz Yisrael, we should be medaba kosher.
Amen.
That for sure that the goyim have no schus klape all these Yidden, and that they should be matzliach in the most spectacular way. Tonight they said that we should be mefalel, we should learn.
All over, yeah.
They shall help them. They should have the most spectacular victory.
Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when you're telling Hashem, if not me and my son, me. I think it's gava. Like I'm holding the whole world in my hand. It's not, I mean, it was the greatest. But how you can contact Kodesh Baruch Hu and tell him it's me. Nobody's here, I'm here. I don't think it's right.
Right. Okay. So that requires another. Well, first of all, so you see, right? He didn't do it for his own gain. He did it for the world.
You know that. Like, it's not gava to say the whole world is because of me.
Sidis believes that the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, it wasn't possible for him to have gaiva. His humility was so strong that his toikev, that his strength. When a person is so humble, then he has that strength. He didn't have that self-consciousness. When he said me, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. When he said me, it wasn't me. It's a hard thing to understand because we don't experience.
Did he know he was that humble? Can you, if you're that humble,
I don't know. It's a tough
Yeah,
question.
he said, what was supposed to happen? They wanted to
So wake up in the morning, realize you could change the trajectory of the world.
Right.
yeah, that's like a taller order than Avram. That's like
gonna happen, and they was
That's why
destroy the
it's
whole-
careful.
he himself was now people.
What about
laser beam on.
No, his son. No, that wasn't.
You wrote the Zohar.
Oh, with himself, right?
He wasn't seeing good things with the world,
What
and he had
about
to
the
go
problem?
back again.
Yeah, that's true.
What about
Okay, but apparently,
what about the promise after the Mabul that not going to destroy the world again?
so it's a good kasha. That's like a good kasha in the story of the Zohar. In the story, it's not. Yeah, it's a klutz kasha.